Hey, Rocco. What are you eating?
Yo, everybody. This is Jeremy versus Jazz, and you're watching
Guitar's fucking hard!
You know what else is hard? Charlie Parker's Blues for Alice. Check it out. Well, that was craptastic, but this is not a video about the head. This is a video about the form of the tune and Barry's scale outline for the tune. If you want to sound hipper and make the changes and stop playing your same old tired shit, you're gonna need some help, like I did. So I'm gonna help you, because Chris Parks is helping me, and I'm sharing that with you, you lucky sons of... All right, let's talk about Barry Harris's scales for this tune, because it really helps you navigate through it, because it's not a straight blues. And it's not just Blues for Alice. All of Barry's scale outlines for tunes are awesome in the sense that they tell you with musical information how long you're supposed to be on each bar of a tune. And that's really hard to keep track of when you're a beginner or even an intermediate improviser. That's what I love about the scales. It's impossible to get lost, but you gotta know the scales really well. Anyhow, let's get to the scales. All right, let's talk about these scales. I'm gonna put the chart right there. I'm gonna try to keep my neck just below it so you can see my hands. This is so lo-fi, but hey, fucking free, man. So you can go watch somebody else's lesson about this. All right, the first chord is an F6 for one bar. Pretty much whenever Barry sees a major 7th chord, he turns it into a 6th chord. Barry calls for an F major scale up to the major 7. Then we go to E minor 7 flat 5 to A7. The main thing is that minor 7 flat 5 is the same as a C9, and Barry's always looking for dominant 7 scales to play. So in this case, it's just C7 down to the 3rd of A, because that's where we're going. We're going to that A. Sorry to interrupt the flow. It's C7 down from the flat 7 to the 3rd of A. Also, this is a really important moment, this E minor 7 flat 5 to A7, moving to D minor 7 to G7. The way most people look at it, the way I always looked at it diatonically, is not how Barry looks at it. In Barry land, there's a bunch of movement to be had just in the one bar of E minor 7 flat 5 to A7. So you can stop thinking about, oh, that's just a minor 2-5 to get to the 1 minor. You can stop playing Locrian modes over that E minor 7 flat 5 or B flat melodic minor over the A flat altered 7 chord. He meant the A7 altered chord, not an A flat 7 altered chord. Forget about D harmonic minor, all that stuff that's too much to think about. In Barry land, you play this dominant 7 scale that is derived from the minor 7 flat 5. In our case, it's the C7 scale down to the 3rd of the A7, the A that we're going to, and there's all your movement in that one bar. When we get to the D minor 7, that's a launch pad for a whole bunch of other movement based on the minor 6 diminished scale, which you're gonna see. So in Barry land, there's a whole lot more movement. It's almost like leapfrogging from one lily pad of movement to another. It sounds beautiful over that. So first 2 bars, F6, right? Now we're on the D minor 7 going to G7. To Barry, this is a pure minor, a pure D minor. It's the relative minor of F. And he's got a special minor scale that works great in pure minor situations especially, but in other stuff too. Go check out Chris Parks' videos about Barry Harris's minor 6 diminished scale. In our case, it's gonna be a D minor 6 diminished. And it sounds like this. Right? And we're gonna play it up to the 6. It has a flat 6 and a major 6. We're gonna play it up to the major 6. Major 6, right? Barry's not looking at it as a minor 2-5 going to the C minor. He's looking at it as an opportunity to play D minor 6 diminished, which also sounds great over the G7 because all the notes of G7 are in it, plus there's a flat 3rd. Don't freak out. The B flat is still the flat 6 of the D minor 6 diminished scale, but it's also the flat 3rd of the G7 scale.
flat third.
Get it?
Which rubbing the flat third against the major third is a very bluesy thing.
Moving on.
Hey Rocco, we're on the C minor 6 going to the F7.
And guess what? It's just a regular old 2/5 because it's going to a major chord, our 4 chord, either the B flat dominant 7 or the B flat 6. But over the 1 bar of C minor 7 to F7, the 2/5, Barry's just going to play F7 up. Then when we get to our 4 chord, the real book shows B flat 7. Barry's always going to play B flat 6 instead. But when it modulates to the B flat minor 7 to the E flat 7, the scale for all that, for both those bars, is just B flat 7 up and down.
Couldn't be simpler. So FYI, I asked Chris, El Jefe, I said, Chris, how come it sounds okay to have a B flat 7 scale going over both
B flat 6 and B flat minor 7 to E flat 7?
How come it isn't B flat 7 up to E flat 7 up? And he said, well, in the 5th and 6th bars of every blues, it's 2 bars of the 4 chord. So Barry just plays the scale for that 4 chord, B flat 7, up and down.
He keeps it simple, man.
All right, let's loop this section, these 2 bars, B flat 6 or B flat 7 to B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. Let's just play the B flat 7 scale. I might throw the flat 3 in there because it's just so beautiful. And you're gonna hear how good it sounds over this. I don't know what else to say about it. B flat 7 scale. Like maybe I played a flat 5, I played the minor 3rd. I threw in some wacky tritone stuff too. I wasn't thinking about those notes. Those notes just came naturally when I focused on the B flat 7 scale. Well, the tritone run I kind of forced in there. Try it, you'll like it. It's not about avoid notes or target notes or chord tones or any of that bullshit.
Also, I was just watching a video where some guy was saying, oh, when it goes to the B flat minor 7 to E flat 7, that's a 2/5 and A flat. Well, I guess that's true, but that's very complicated when you can just play B flat 7 over the whole thing, right? And then just build around that B flat 7 framework. The impression I get from Chris is that while the rest of the world was making everything into a 2/5, Barry was trying to minimize 2/5s and find simpler ways through things. I find it liberating.
Moving on.
So now we're at the A minor 7 to D7, 2 beats each. So we got 1 bar, and Barry plays F major scale up to the major 7 over that. And it sounds really cool. Because A is the 3rd of F, and the D7 is really the 6th of F. So yeah, it's a 2/5 to G, but once again, we're not stopping at, we're not going to G. We're actually going a half step down to another quote 2/5. So he doesn't want to create movement that suggests that we're going right to that G. If we play F major 7, it keeps it wide open. It keeps you from like, oh, we're just moving to G, because we're not. Then the next chord is A flat minor 7 to D flat 7. And over that, that's sort of like an isolated 2/5, and Barry just plays D flat 7 up. So the two of them sound like this. So now I have like a whole other bag of sounds to play with.
That's kind of a cool little line. I never would have thought of that if I wasn't thinking F major to D flat 7. If I was just thinking A minor Dorian to A flat minor Dorian, it would always sort of sound real samey. Let's loop those 2 bars on a backing track and see what that line or something like it sounds like with some harmony behind it. wouldn't have thought of that in a million years. So thinking about F major scale up and D flat 7 scale up, and again, that's just a framework. You don't have to just go up on both of them. That's kind of a basic idea of movement, and then you could do what you want with it.
I don't know, it just feels like you're more inside the changes instead of skating over the top of them.
All right, we're in the home stretch now. We're at the G minor 7 for a whole bar, to the C7 for a whole bar, and that's gonna take us to the turnaround. Back to the top. So, what does Barry do over that G minor 7 to C7? You got one guess. Barry turns every 2-5 into a 5. So it's gonna be C7 up and down. That's right. Now we're at the turnaround that takes us back to the top. Bars 11 and 12. Barry's gonna play an F6. The chart shows a D minor 7. I play D7. G minor 7, C7, right? So what does Barry do over that? F6 to the D7. He plays F major up to the 7. That's just like a 1-6. And for the G minor 7 to C7, going back home, he plays C7 up. Couldn't be simpler. You're just playing the scale that goes with the 5 chord. So these last two scales over the end of the tune, F major up to C7 up. You see that in Barry's scales for straight jazz blues as well. The last 2 bars is always a major followed by its 5th. At least so far, that's what I've noticed.
Blues for fucking Alice. Oh my god, if you knew how long I spent on this fucking video, you would sub me 10 times if you could. Ugh. And now, bonus feature.
So basically, throughout the video, whenever I was playing chords, I was using the really kind of basic Mickey Baker Book 1 type stuff that I've known my whole life since the first time I opened a real book. And I was like, what are those chords? And then someone said, check out this book, and it was the Mickey Baker book. But I want to show a little excerpt of me demonstrating how much cooler comping can be when you use Barry's scales of chords. It allows you to stab and hit on the offbeats and really kind of play with the drummer in a way that I never knew how to do before. And I'm only just now starting to figure it out, but Barry's chord system, it's just magic for that. So I just want to play this chunk that got edited out of the video because the video got too long.
Now it's gonna be really long again.
So we went over the form, and you saw that the first chord is an F major 7, or what Barry plays, an F6. But I'm also going to be doing little Barry moves using the F major 6 diminished scale to create movement. So I'm not just 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I'm going to go like this. Right? Let me put this drum beat on. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You can go. That stabbing kind of horn section style, that's what these scales of chords allow you to do, right? Here's that D minor 6. Instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, you can say. What's cool is I'm not jumping all over the neck.
You got it? Okay? Can we move on now?